We've all been there, trapped in a dead-end day job, feeling like the only one who does any work while those around you laze about, not pulling their weight like they should. If you're going through the motions, it's because nobody else can be bothered either. It's a problem that extends all the way to the murder mystery. This state of mind affects many a horror villain living and working today. Pity the likes of Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers or Freddy Krueger, stuck in the rut of dull and increasingly nonsensical sequels. At least they got their horror classics out of the way first though. There are a number of would-be slasher villains which never got there in Nightmare on Elm Street or Halloween, often debuting in schlocky trash which put pay to any hope that they may have had a franchised. All some of these guys had to hope for now is the possibility of a remake, which, let's be honest, will probably be inbound anyway, knowing the horror industry as we do. In honour of these unsung creeps, let's take a run through some of the more underused horror villains ever. I am Kirsten from WhatCulture Horror, and these are 8 great horror villains trapped in terrible movies. Number 8. Killjoy. One of the most enduring monsters on this list with a veritable franchise to his name. Killer Clown, the most popular kind, Killjoy is the star of 4 movies, each of varying degrees of trash. Killjoy and its sequel, Deliverance from Evil, are by far the most difficult to watch, completely lacking in production values and invention as they are. They are remarkable, however, in their almost entirely black cast, including Killjoy himself for the first film, which is something one doesn't see a lot in the horror sphere even today. Its sequel give Killjoy buddies, a girlfriend and a little budget to play around with. Killjoy Goes to Hell, meanwhile, is a courtroom drama literally set in hell, so we at least have to give it credit for its ambition. Unlike the rest of the films on this list, Killjoy stands to return again in the near future. Helmed by Charles Band's Full Moon Pictures, the films are cheap and cheerful enough that its creators can keep churning them out and still make a profit. Number 7. Smiley. Maybe the worst film on this list, and that's saying something given that it's sat next to 4 Killjoy movies. Smiley is an internet meme made real, an urban legend slasher flick about an internet spook who murders those who visit his website. Surprisingly, not a Tumblr blog. A cross between The Ring and urban legend, Michael J. Gallagher's Smiley has a lot of promise but throws it all away on a ridiculous story, unlikable characters and boring action. And yet it has something truly special in its titular villain, never looking anything less than terrifying throughout. What could have been a modern version of Hellraiser with similarly grisly emoticon-faced friends instead turns out to be a sub-Scooby-Doo slasher mystery that is far more boring than a film about a man with an emoticon for a face ever should be. The online slasher film has since taken off with marginally better results thanks to the likes of Unfriended, The Den and Open Windows, but just looking at Smiley still hurts because of what could have been. Sad face. Number 6. Pumpkinhead. Another slasher villain who managed to get himself a franchise in spite of shaky foundations. Pumpkinhead has thus far managed 3 sequels, none of which are much cop. Effects maestro Stan Winston directed the film as well as designing Pumpkinhead himself, sadly not one of the man's finest moments. While Winston's special effects are as on point as ever, if a little too Buffy villain looking, the story rarely lives up to the central idea, not really giving Pumpkinhead any sense of personality or room to breathe. Lance Henriksen manages to enliven matters. Lance Henriksen always manages to enliven matters, but there's no hiding the fact that it all feels like a bit of a waste of time and talent. A reboot is currently in the works, of course it is. Here's hoping that they can imbue its tale of mythology and vengeance with the verve and panache it so deserves. He is the Grand Pumpkin after all. Number 5. Howard Howe, Tusk. Poor Michael Parks, fantastic actor so frequently trapped in bad Kevin Smith movies, where he managed to hold the also terrible Red State together with his towering performance. He has no such luck with the director's body horror nightmare, Tusk. Here, Parks plays crinkly but sinister pensioner Howard Howe, a man still mourning the walrus friend he made while lost at seas years ago. When idiot podcaster Wallace, played by an awful Justin Long, comes knocking, Howard has the opportunity to relive the past and reconnect with his lost friend. And so he sets about turning Justin Long into a walrus. This ridiculous concept could work if everyone was reading from the same song sheet, but everyone, including Smith, seems to be pulling in vastly different directions. That leaves Parks giving a blisteringly terrifying performance, while the likes of Long and Johnny Depp go for broad comedy strokes. There's no doubt that Parks is in on the joke. It's not a subtle joke, but its snaring, quietly terrifying old lunatic sits at complete odds with the silly rubber walrus suit and Johnny Depp in his fake nose. As Parks and Depp Depp stand on the former's porch jawing brainless nonsense at each other, both pretending to be mentally ill, although Depp's character might actually be. For 10 whole minutes, there's the sense that Parks really is wasted here. Number 4, Morgan Freeman, Dreamcatcher. Morgan Freeman plays an evil army official in an adaptation of Stephen King's book about evil aliens and childhood friendships. Oh, and it's also a tie-in / companion piece to It. What could go wrong? A lot, it seems. 2003's Dreamcatcher is one of the worst King adaptations to date, a resoundingly silly horror film full of good actors giving terrible performances, including English actor Damian Lewis failing to do a convincing English accent. This Dreamcatcher turned into something of a nightmare. At least Freeman is fun in it, letting his enormous eyebrows do most of the talking, a brilliantly malicious performance in a film otherwise steeped in mediocrity. Freeman is the only reason to watch this outside of ironic hate viewing. Alas, he's not in it for long enough to really redeem the film, and nor is Freeman given enough to do beyond snarling and having a little meltdown at the end. Of all its crimes, wasting an evil Morgan Freeman is a particularly hefty one. Number 3, Osama Bin Laden. Osombi. Osama Bin Zombie. Nuff said. In Osombi, the terrorist is resurrected as a zombie and hard at work building an army of undead terrorists. Axis of Evil Dead. Get it? Together, a yoga instructor and a conspiracy theorist named Derek work together to put a stop to Osombi's evil. Again, not the most sensitive of horror movies then. Osombi could have owned its offensiveness and the ridiculousness of its concept, becoming something transcendently ill-advised as a result. Instead, it throws all of that away in favour of a dull, straight-to-DVD action and rote zombie shocks set in the desert. Osama Bin Zombie is underused too, being barely in it for most of the runtime and not making much of an impact whenever he is around. Perhaps that's for the best though. Too soon? Probably too soon. Number 2, Jacob, See No Evil 2. Like Jason Voorhees, except a wrestler. In the See No Evil movies, wrestler Kane plays serial killer Jacob Goodnight. A hulking great psychopath with the physique of, well, Kane, and the brutality of Jason. Kane is well suited to the role of Jacob, possessing the requisite size and frame for someone who spends his everyday murdering teenagers and a delightfully sinister glare. Unfortunately, he's stuck in 2 of the dullest slasher movies ever made. See No Evil is a by-the-numbers horror flick featuring a cast of obnoxious kids rattling about an old house just waiting for Goodnight to knock them off one by one. Slow, turgid, and utterly forgettable, few could have expected a sequel out of it all. And yet, See No Evil 2 exists, directed by bona fide horror personalities, the Soska sisters no less. Sadly, it's just as bad as the first film, spending most of its time set in a series of similar-looking corridors, lacking any wit or originality. A shame, since the hefty great psychopath could be one of the greats, given the right scripts and victims. Oh well, we'll always have Hatchet, I suppose. Number 1, Pennywise, It. It may have terrified the pants of many a child of a certain age, but there comes a point where we have to admit that It simply isn't that good. Adapted from the Stephen King novel of the same name, the TV miniseries makes a good go of it, given the book's length and structure, but rarely is it a success. All we really talk about when it comes to It is the magnificent Pennywise, as portrayed by Tim Curry. So wonderful is Curry that whenever his killer clown is on the screen, any thought of the film's less good points simply dissipate. Those with a fear of clowns should be left shivering in their boots by Pennywise, and that's before the killing starts. A cackling, quotable monster, Pennywise is perhaps the most recognisable horror clown of all time. That's pretty impressive when you stop to consider how low and shoddy It actually is. Thankfully, with the remake and Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise, it seems we finally got a film that lives up to Pennywise's fearsome reputation. And there we go, what other horror movie villains were stuck in a remarkably underwhelming film? Shout out to any more down in the comments. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, click that subscribe button. But for now, I have been Kirsten Ria, and I will see you in the next video.
Oh, what a lovely list and or other video format that was. I for one sure enjoyed that list and or other video format we just watched together, but hey, out with the old and in with the new, because time has passed since then, and we're going to talk about WhatCulture Horror instead, which is our brand new channel we have just launched for all things spooky, scary, weird and wonderful. So if you like lists, we've got them. If you like news videos, we have got those. If you like podcasts, we've got those as well. So there's all sorts of treats for your list and or other video format needs you can check out on WhatCulture Horror. It's very good if I do say so myself. I like it a lot and I think you should check it out. In the meantime, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, sacrifice your firstborn child to the overalls of WhatCulture, and also check out WhatCulture Horror. Thanks for watching.